caught us by surprise, bit us in the ass, crept up and slapped us in the face, it would be a lie. Not 24 hours ago, I came here on this very station and came out with the begging, and I pleaded, and maybe in a rational way, because a lot of emotion to try to get my community out of this before it happens, especially if you're just buying in the moment, or if you're not looking to sit through a 15% correction, if not worse. I tried, and I did it in almost the wrong way yesterday, only because I was a little too emotional. So YouTube, you know, it ended up causing people to report my content, which it happens. And then the content was lost because it got removed for violating community standards. However, I didn't get a warning or a strike or anything like that. I had to do some stupid questionnaire and pass the sensitivity, whatever you want to call it, and acknowledge that, yada yada yada, so that I could keep putting content out. But this is like the 7th time it's happened this year, so I'm not gonna talk anymore about that. But the bottom line is here, when I come on frantically, it's because I'm trying to put it across to 45,000 plus people now. And I'm trying to show my sense of urgency that this is very wrong. I don't want you guys to get hurt by this. And it's something that can be foreseen because I'm foreseeing it right now. It's just a matter of how you're going to take this. A lot more people were focused on the fact when I said I liquidated out of positions. But I don't, listen, XRP and XRP healthcare is not a liquidation for me. I don't sell them. I don't care if it goes back to zero. Because with XRP, I bought twice as many as I needed, and I sold 10,000 plus $3. I sold some a little bit lower because I had bought $5,000 additional at 38 cents just to fill in the viewing audience. And I still have a bag of over 10,000. I don't say exactly how much, but it's over 10,000 because I reserve the right to move some back and forth if I want. The 2, 3, 4,000 over the top. And that's what I do. I transfer all the time when I'm sending money because I like to promote and use XRP, the ledger. But we bought in at 34 cents, and that just sits in the XRP healthcare wallet. XRP healthcare, there's 102,220 that sit there right around 2 cents, maybe 2.2, because I bought a little bit more from the 1.7 cent average to get it up to 102,000 from like 64, somewhere in the low to mid fours. But be that as it may, in the future, I'm going to try to do a better job to relate to the audience and not be so overly emotional. But at the same time, you've got to understand the difference in my tone. I've got to make it very obvious that if something changes in my demeanor, somebody said in the live last night, and it was perfect sense, what made you change all of a sudden from being so bullish the last couple of weeks to all of a sudden like the earth basically rolling over and on fire? Because when we went up where we did, the resistance points we hit, if we didn't break out, what I was targeting, remember we went through this yesterday if you were part of the live, and I hope you were because they really did me a very big disservice because that would have been a video that got, it would have got who knows how many views because it foreran the market. So it did me a disservice, but at the same time, it also helps, in a way. But we went through this yesterday, and we talked about the daily time frame. So I said, why would I buy this? Anything. I sold out. I'm waiting for the retest on the daily to see if it holds because we have a golden cross in the daily. And without breaking out now, we had no choice. We built the cup. Now to build the handle here, see? To build the handle, you come down and either retest here. You might fall a little bit farther, but you're looking for the back test and re-entry if you're just riding them out on trades. Or first entry, even if you're waiting for the breakout, you're waiting for this back test on the daily time frame. And that's all I tried to say yesterday was, listen, I don't know how often, if ever, you have a big reversal here in the market and you don't back test that daily, either looming golden cross, or, you back test the 4-hourly first, which we did. But now where it ended up, all of these were ending up in a very similar situation. Even if they broke out later than some of the other ones, we were still finding ourselves in a rather interesting positioning because it kept ending up in the same areas. Where's my other H-bar chart? I cannot remember what it was. We'll just do it together. It's fine. I want to make a new H-bar chart. And some were like, why don't you have exposure to H-bar? Well, because when I sold it, it wasn't back to where I needed it to be to rebuy it. We bought it as, there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be revisited. But going forward, Just remember, pay attention if I have that frantic voice, because I'm trying to warn you of something that hasn't happened yet. And like I said yesterday, I'm going to look like an idiot until it happens. XDC is right at the daily time frame. We'd be looking right around that 799, but we could also hold 84. But I still think we probably might come down there, and that could be a problem if we have to come back. But what I think is probably could be likely too is as the daily candle closes tonight, this could start to meet farther up here as the candles start to lay. So maybe it'll balance out, and this will start, basically what I'm saying is for like XDC, maybe it'll start doing something like this. Because I'm targeting 8.4, and if that doesn't hold, obviously 7.9. But maybe it does something like that, and then this, as the candles progress, will do something like that. And it'll kind of meet in this area. So we'll see how that progresses. But as we continue to move on, you know, we start to look at it. We got a few scenarios with Bitcoin right now to see if this is a short drop or a bigger drop. So with Bitcoin right now, we have this little setup. And if Bitcoin falls outside of this, it makes it pretty easy. We fall outside of this, we come in back test now the shorter area, which I think is appropriate because we broke out of this rising triangle. And if we're going to have, some could argue rising wedge, but initially I thought it was a rising triangle, and that's why I kept saying bullish continuation, which it ended up doing. But to get to 143, I was convinced because we had a target at 122 when it broke up, because that's the technical target of this bull market. See that? 122, 186 of this bull market off the cup and handle. That's phenomenal forecasting, forward thinking. This market's been for you in place for years. We've done this this is what I did with all of my positionings. So like when I get out of something right away, that's why, because I can see like if it's got a back test. So right now with Bitcoin, to give us that oomph to get to 143, which is created out of this rising triangle, if that indeed is what it is and it holds, that gives us a final target probably by September of about 143,000. But beware, at around the time of the pumpkins, we're going to see some red, and it could be ugly. And then as we get towards November and into Christmas, we're going to see the grand rising once again. It might only be shortly lived, but it's something we're going to see. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for to see if Bitcoin does fall out of here, actually come back and retest the structure breakout, because it seems to me that's what it is working on. I don't know why it's being so damn paranoid. I think it's because it's trying to trap a bunch of people. But we'll see if it plays out. As it is right now, we've got about 10% across the board. Some are faring a little bit worse, some a little bit better. XRP's getting bent over, as I figured. We knew 328 was a big point. Big FEG levels and things like that in that area. I didn't think it was going to hold that. That's why I said I think we're going to come back down and retest that $3 range very firmly. It's a perfect setup in that daily 20. But XRP's already front ran this for a long time. So this very well could be a short-term double top like it happened. But what I don't think it's a short-term double top, folks. Don't be fooled by me talking and front running a drop by being bearish. That's absolutely not the case. We need to have a bullish continuation, build the handle here, and then, oh, is it a spectacular event here? Because then you have the long-term target, the 549 or 679. But if you can take away the drop and put it in perspective, now we build the short-term cup, and now we're cooking, folks. Now when you break out of this, now all of a sudden you got a short target here because it's being done properly at 483. This would be cooking, everybody. This would be cooking if we start doing this with a long target of all the way up to possibly 638. And then once we consolidate there, build what we're going to do, then I can tell you how quick it's going to go if we have to have a further back test. But again, I'm not a wizard. I just try to put together what I see on the pattern before it happens. My mind works in weird ways where I can put puzzles together when they're still on a table. I can vision them in my head put together so I know where the pieces go. Like when I'm playing a game, I can vision what I'm looking at in my head before. Even if I'm not looking at it, it's just I need to take a peek. Like all these charts, it's one of those things, you know, it's a crazy thing. And IOTA down 9%. Remember yesterday we talked, and man, I wish some of you, but I put down that 2087 for first target. That's the daily golden cross. I have 10,000 IOTA. I think that's the only thing besides our V-chain. In our group trade, we had to test it to see. The only way to test it is to test it. So I told the group either you're going to be in it or not. But we had to do a group trade where we rode the drop down with VeChain to see if I was able to add a position over time. So it's painful, but sometimes you got to do the painful things, understanding in the future it's all going to pay off anyhow, even if it takes years. But VeChain's on the verge of a very big breakout, so we had to wait. So I bought more when it came down here after being down about 9%. Like I told everybody, we'd be down about 10%. I said there's no avoiding it, where it's going to be some pain here. Could go down as much as 20, maybe more if we have to come back here. But our goal was to buy the first layer here, lower our average, and add tokens. I bought $438 more. It actually worked for the group if they had margin. So I'm very happy we can build a position over time if we're in the structural positioning to break out. You know, so, and if it breaks down, it breaks down. But this is a very long-standing consolidation, and it looks to me like there's still a lot to go here. It's just this is the consolidation we needed. So, and it's a big game, everybody. I've been trying to make sure everybody understands this. They play a big game on us. No great move up comes without liquidity kills and strikes on the general public for the consolidation. So if you front run it because you understand, you don't worry about liquidity, you're taking profits when the general public gets in. They get the last 3 to 5%, make fun of you after you've already made the 30 to 50%. Now you wait for the likely consolidation back down, in this case in the daily time frame, retesting the 20s. Especially if they've made golden crosses in the daily, then they got to retest the daily. But right now, we haven't made that golden cross across the board in most. Some we have, and we're back testing it, as you know, but a lot of them we haven't, like VeChain and some of the other ones. And now we have to back test it. So while they're all in and out, we're able to, if we understand, swing in and out or build into a position as it goes down. So I'm showing you the objective of building into a position as if you bought it and then it drops 10% overnight. Huh? Why would Tom do that if it's going to do it? Because until you get your hands dirty, you can't know how to learn. So anybody in the group trading, I figured it out. Too much easy money was being made. Now we got to make the hard and dirty money. We make the hard and dirty money, and it was very obvious yesterday with the conversation in the live. That's what was going on. So now we make the dirty money, and we see if people really want to learn. I am not phasing the bit being down $330 or $50 in the VeChain. I actually added $430. I'm playing a position. I'm not playing the exact timing. I couldn't give a rat's ass how long it takes. But if it gives me more chances, if I got to build this position up to 1 million tokens from 160,000 to make it work, I will. And I'm very stubborn. Remember what I did with XRP for years until now we're at where we're at. But I was in one cycle, out before the cycle broke down, back in the cycle before it broke up. And if you listened and bought double when it came down to 38 cents, you could have did what I did and cashed out a cool, we'll just say for me, over 30 grand plus. I had $5,000 worth of the XRP Bitcoin pairing at 38 cents, and it did me very well. And I had my 12,222 tokens of XRP that sit there stable. Let me just say it. I'm sure everybody could figure it out. From 34 cents, and it just sits in the XRP healthcare wallet. Like, this is all gravy, guys. You can only use so much cash, and I don't even like cash. I don't put money in the bank. I prefer precious metals, and I like to invest. Once it makes the move up, I get a little sad. I like the process of building. I like seeing the red. Oh my God, I'm down 10%. Am I going to panic, or am I going to buckle down here and buy? Okay, it dropped 10%. Here's that moment where I put 4,000 into the position. Got to buy 10%. Now it moves it down incrementally, my average, and it's a 1x trade, so who cares? I'm not going to get, there is no liquidation. Even though I'm using the futures, there's no liquidation when we're copy trading because I do 1x. So we can learn a lot here. This is a very big teaching moment. And I want everybody, I always like to let you in. And at least today I'm trying to be more proactive to let you see every side of me. But every side of me is also, I get frantic. You should have seen me on vacation when I seen this setting up. I'm like, oh my God. And then in the car, I just, it's like when you start seeing it. So now with H-bar, in theory, we're waiting for that push to 22,638. With IOTA, in theory, and I have no idea of knowing if this is going to play out or if this is just going to roll over, because right now Ethereum really needs to come back and back test like 3,200. Now, could the altcoins run if Ethereum had to drop $500 more? Or would that mean that we have to go even farther? Because XRP's not close there, but some of them, remember, something's got to run at some point when we get to those areas. So maybe IOTA being back there, maybe something like this, unless it's meant to roll over. You know, maybe some of these that are getting, it's not even there yet, but maybe when it gets there, you know, in the daily, then we can start talking about it. Now, the dangerous thing are these rising little channels that were formed here that we talked about yesterday, which is what got us concerned about XLR. Even though it looked like we could have a move out, we talked about, even though we could have that rising triangle, the concern with, where the hell's XLR? Oh, the concern with the XLR is, and why there was a very distinct movement if you rode it to the resistance, or if you actually got into it, you had to sell it when it got to there. That's what we talked about. It was a very minimal margin. And the reason for that is it formed a rising channel on top of what could have been a rising wedge or triangle. But you have to put in the stock of the long-standing rising channel. If you wanted to play that, there was a minute move that you could have played perfectly, the targets from last night. And then you had to sell once it broke through 39. And if you would have bought it, you would have broke even at worst. You know, during when we were discussing it. But this is why you have to do it. Because right now, yeah, it looks great. It's building what looks like a rounding bottom, an inverse head and shoulders possibly. And they always look good until they don't, right? So you got to try to forward think the potential of a pattern. And right now it needed to back test the 20-day crossing the 50 just to kind of see if there's some potential here. And hopefully this just ends up being a wick. I don't see anything that leads me to believe that there's an overzealous sell volume today. Like there's nothing overzealous. It's just these are going to be some really, really interesting candles here that are left. Data, remember, had a 10% drop yesterday, recovered a couple of percent. We talked about the target yesterday on data right here at the 20-day. I wonder if some of them stayed on. I don't know why they're not on here, which is almost interesting that they're not there, because we talked about all of these retesting the dailies. And that's what we're trying to do. Like this one was breaking up, so it's like, can it hold the 200? Because it already had to push over. Does it come back below? I'd like to think like for something like Alchemy Pay, we don't necessarily need to come all the way down. You'd like to try to put some support there, but I have a feeling that it probably will if the rest of the market continues down for one more layer. But we're within that range. You know, some things, maybe it doesn't hit 15. Maybe it was a 10% drop. Maybe it was a 12% drop like some of them. But it was a significant, I mean, that's 10%. That's $1 out of $10 you have in your portfolio that disappeared this morning. But not lost. If you have a game plan. You know. It has to be. Oh, okay, good. So I'll go through and see what everybody thinks. I appreciate you tuning in. And just like I said, in the future, if I come in frantically, there's a reason why. So don't overly judge me. And the last thing you want to do is report my content. Oh, where'd all the comments go? It just deleted all my comments in there. I'm going to have to go to my phone because somebody joined Tom's Army, so I got to see that. I apologize. I'm going to have to start fresh on here. YouTube literally just cleared my screen. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. Nah, fuck it. You guys believe me. I don't need to. Anyhow, let me go back on here. Let me go on here real quick so I can thank the person who just joined Tom's Army. A little bit ago. I'll go through the comments that chose me, but that's never done that before. It never takes them away. That's weird. It's never done that before. It never takes them away. Because look, I'll be able to go on here and it did it on here too. What is that all about? But I don't know where the rest of the comments went. I have no idea who joined Tom's Army or if there was. Wow, that is so strange. Huh. I thought it was just something they did. That's on my own portfolio where I'm recording and it doesn't show it. That's crazy. Brandon Chapa, thank you, Alec Tony, for not only being in part of Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Autos Crypto News, but also letting me know that it was Brandon Chapa joined Tom's Army. Thank you so much for joining for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. I can tell you for a fact that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. Circa 2019. Tango, thank you for the $2 donation. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And also being in Tom's Army for over 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. So we will go back up. We will go back up. Alt season hasn't happened. So daily golden cross, testing on IOTA, staying to my own thesis. I'm buying 10,000 IOTA. Not in the group, just myself. It's testing the daily golden cross. That's a nice FEG area that it needed to back test. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. IOTA right now will run you $2,100 per 10,000. I'm probably going to buy 20,000 tokens of IOTA. No, because I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a real split. I'm going to do 10,000 IOTA, 10,000 HBAR when it gets to where I want, 10,000 Algo when it gets to where it wants. I will do, just to keep it even, I'll do 100,000 initially of XDC. I will do 10,000 probably XLM when it gets to where, well, it depends the price. Well, this is where it gets tricky because I'm going to own Dent, Data, Band, and Axelar regardless. So 3,600 as of right now goes towards 10,000 tokens of Axelar. Probably depending on how much, 2,000 to 3,000 on Dent, 2,000 to 3,000 on Band, and $2,000 to $3,000 on Data, just depending on how I set it out. So, no, Tom, like I said in the comments, in order for you to be re-added to the Telegram, you got to send me a message on Telegram and add me to your contacts. I can't send you a message and do that. You have to do it. You have to seek me out, send me a message like so many others have, and add me to your contacts so that link isn't expired anymore. That is the only way to fix it. Well, if I'm being truthful, IOTA's like I like the, okay, so if I'm being honest, I like the IoT more than the ISO tokens. There's no doubt about it. So Internet of Things, I crave, because there's not many of them that are mainframe tokens to the whole thing. And IOTA is actually a mainframe token to this, which is why I did this. Whoops, where's it at? Why I did this right here, so you can see IoT with IOTA. It powers and does everything in the new world, basically, with the smart things. And then you can also see I added to this with HBAR. So you guys can see what my directive is right now. XRP, XDC, HBAR, and then like the other ones I talk about, Dent and all of those, they're not in the early term philosophy. Those are ones that are outside of that scope. These are ones that not a lot of people talk about, but they're out there and they're going to have significant price appreciation. So like Dent, we're testing the 20 EMA. That's what we're looking for. You know, and like Dent, I don't mind if it were to break down and I could just keep acquiring to get to 10,000 over time. I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. But I got to find the proper entry and where I feel comfortable again. Because right now, the way it's showing, I mean, it's not the worst thing. This could be a rising triangle in the making, folks. Like if you go from here, just hear me out. If you go from here, and now maybe we could say like rising wedges, but like go here and use the evidence that we have. Where's the daily EMA? The daily EMA here. And this is all I try to do to forecast in the future. And if I buy it and it breaks down, I don't mind selling it. Like the least of my problems is seeing I'm down a few dollars. Like who cares? That's trading, folks. I'm trying to be an investor in the right positioning. Is that a rising wedge or would that be a rising triangle? I just need interpretation from my audience. And we're taking it from where the swing low, because sometimes people get it wrong and it might not be wrong. You can do it, but they'll go from here, push it out here. And yeah, it's a channel, but we're trying to see if it has to come all the way down there. If it breaks through here, you can see the identity. It's probably trying to build. And then what's going to happen is, whoops, it would build it farther down. So we can't go to that step before we clear the step in front of us. See what I'm saying? You can't just get to the objective until you see if the micro level can actually play this true. So now you run the simulation and you say, well, where the hell does this go? Okay, well, you asked. So, I mean, how high could this possibly go? You could possibly play it out as it starts to form something like that as well. So, you know, but I won't go that far into the future. We'll just do it like this. And then you can further connect this pattern. And this is what I do with them all in my spare time. Like, I try to show what I can here, but imagine what I do when I'm with myself when nobody's awake at night, you know, outside of all of this. How do you think I get up with all this stellar TA when I come in? You know, I'm studying this. And then if we say, okay, well, Tom, look at this. Maybe, just maybe, we have a problem here and we're overzealous. And I'd say, well, what are you talking about? And then it's like, Tom, we'll just study the chart. And then I study the chart. And I go, oh, shit. But if we get stopped here, what if we're forming that? Holy shit, we're early. And then I start saying, well, Tom, you can't get early in this buy at right because it's there, because you got a 2-layer step approach. Maybe it gets to 51 here. And yeah, there's a big W, but maybe it has to reverse. So you have to kind of take this with a grain of salt here in the weekly, because that weekly, if it went boom, 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 now you'd have a triple bottom. Now, is a double or triple bottom better? Like if we did that. So now I start to look at it and say, oh man, if we did have an overzealous drop and Ethereum, you're banned so it won't come up. Huh. Oh yeah, I don't use a mic. There's no way for me to use a mic. If there's something wrong with it, I can try to refresh it. I need to know if that's across the board. But Tom, define what. Can you try to help Tom right now and explain? Oh, you're trying to right now. I'm sorry, I was behind in comments. Did I? Oh yeah, let me try to right now. What's his name? What's your name on Telegram, Tom? Is it just Tom on? No, it's not. It was was it Nilo? Oh, it's lagging, gurgling. Oh, perfect. I'm gonna reset this. Let's try.